China is investing heavily in Africa, and trade among Asian and African nations is soaring. As their economic ties have grown, so have the number of African immigrants to China, now estimated at 500,000 people. Shannon van Sant talked with Africans who have relocated to the Asian nation.
Turay Lamin owns Africa House, the sole restaurant serving Pan-African cuisine in Beijing. Although many of Turay's staff and friends are new to China, he is not. Turay moved here in 1989 and says China was a part of his life even as a child in Sierra Leone.
There was a time when the Chinese were building a cross-border bridge right about 10 minutes away from where I grew up. And there were so many. It was actually the first time to see so many non-Africans.
The construction workers were also the reason he began learning Chinese at 13.
My home was a bread-making home, a kind of catering, and we were supplying them bread. They actually gave me a book, a Chinese book. That's when I first learned the word "xie."
Many Africans say they come to China for the opportunity to build their entrepreneurial dreams. Bodomo is a professor at Hong Kong University who spoke to VOA via Skype.
These two parts of the world, China and Africa, are having closer and closer relations at the governmental level. You're also having closer and closer relations at the people-to-people level.
Rosalind Zamoa moved here 6 years ago to work as a fashion model and start a catering business. She says China was a shock from her native Ghana.
I felt like almost like an alien, kind of, if you know what I mean.
She says she is treated differently because of her race, but the questions she faces on a daily basis are more from curiosity than judgment.
The kind of racism I experience here is completely different to the kind of racism you would probably experience, say, in America or in London, for example. And by far, I prefer the kind of racism I get here in China because it's kind of cute in a way, you know?
Many immigrants have more serious concerns with their treatment in China, where they complain they are routinely scrutinized by police. Their physical appearance makes them stand out, but Professor Bodomo says Africans are treated worse than other foreigners.
This is a fact. I mean, you can see it for yourself. I have experienced it myself. Africans in Guangzhou, on the streets of Guangzhou, are often stopped more than any other group of people in the world.
Despite the challenges, Rose says that for her, Beijing now feels like home. She is able to bond with her Chinese friends and customers because of a shared passion, food.
The Chinese culture and the European culture is completely different. It's very close to African culture.
Although many immigrants like Rose say they eventually plan to leave China, restaurant owner Turay says he is here to stay. With more Africans moving to Beijing, he says business is booming. Shannon van Sant for VOA News, Beijing.